started all together so many years ago. Danced in the sunshine and made angels in the snow. Our lives were filled with innocence. This world, it turned so slow. Now my most beloved friend, together we grow old.
Welcome to Silver Minds, the program that introduces you to some of our older citizens, their past and their present. We're hoping that you young ones will find it interesting to know a little bit about someone born in this city, and that you older ones will retrieve some of your memories. Our guest today is Leo Jodoin, and he has a special tie on that I will let him tell you about.
First of all, I have to say hi and welcome to not a Salem Now segment, but I am very, very pleased to be invited on Silver Minds.
Why do you have a lion as your symbol, Leo? That is it.
Well, that is a fluke. When we first created the show and we did our first show, the director at the computer turned to me and said, "Lee, what is the production of the show?" I said, "Salem Now Productions." And he said, "No, you can't have that." He says, "And quick, I need it. You only have 5 minutes and you'll be on the air." I said, "Well, Leo the Lion Productions, how's that sound?" And he went back to the computer, then he turned it back to me and he says, "I love it." I said, "Yeah, but can I change it?" So he said, "Yeah, you can change it later if you want." I said, "Well, okay, let's ride with that." And ever since then, it's been Leo the Lion Productions presents. And this tie was given to me by my baby sister, Gloria. And of course, I grew up with 3 girls. I was the only boy. I was spoiled. And my nieces would give me ties. So, not to be rude, I would wear them on the show for them. But when I put this one on, and I didn't wear it the following show, I got a lot of feedback from the people that said how much I loved the tie and that I had to wear it. And I just kept getting this feedback after and after and after. And so finally I said, well, the tie has become one of the signatures of the show. I have been wearing it ever since.
Leo has been doing that show for over 25 years?
It'll be 25 years. Our anniversary is August 16th.
And as you can see here, Salem Access Television has given him a Lifetime Achievement Award.
It's the first and only, and that was decided by the staff of SATV.
So you are the first and only Lifetime Achievement Award winner.
Right.
Quite an honor.
I love it. It's on my desk where my computer is. I have many awards. I have probably up to 50 awards.
Some of them are right here. You should figure out a tray. Carry all your awards at once.
Well, I would need a truck.
All right.
A tray would never work.
Okay, before we go to the establishment of this wonderful television show, you were born in Salem, 1952.
Correct.
And you spoke only French until you were 5 years old.
5 years old. And when I went out, finally, when my mother let me go out to play with the children in the neighborhood, we lived at Cedar Street Court, so it was a really safe area to play. And she could keep an eye on me through the window. And of course, I learned English. So that got her mad because my mother she spoke French fluently, and that's how her and I would communicate. I would talk French to my mother.
So would you say then you're the child of French immigrants?
We do come from, my great-great-grandfather is a true Iroquois Indian, my mother's side. And when she used to tell us the stories about him, she used to tell us how big he was. And I know this is going to sound sick, folks, but I asked my uncle, why did great-great-grandfather have to leave Canada? And he said to me he had to. And I said, why? He said, because he killed somebody. And I said, wow, we have a murderer in the family? I said, who did he kill? He says, another Indian.
So you're French Canadian.
I'm French Canadian.
And the family came down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you went to Salem High School.
Nope.
No, where did you go to high school?
I didn't go to high school. I graduated 8th grade and I quit school.
And was that common at the time?
At the time, long hair wasn't even allowed in the elementary school, but I had formed a rock band when I was around 14 years old. And I can remember a boy in our classroom, it was the geography classroom, was told by the teacher to get a haircut. And I had long hair.
This was the 60s.
This was the very early 60s.
Yeah.
And he turned around to try to use me as an example and said, well, what about Leo Jodoin? She said, never mind about Leo. She says, he has a reason to have long hair. And this was at Bowditch School,
Yeah.
which is, the building is still here, which I have an issue with because they condemned the building. And being in construction all my life, at least close to 50 years in the construction field, the building was completely sound. Ironically, they tore down the auditorium, which was the newest part of the facility.
Probably not as well built.
No, they tore it down for parking.
Oh.
And made condominiums out of the Bowditch School. Something a lot of people out there don't know, my old sound person for Salem Now, my very first sound man, Michael Kenny, he also wrote our Salem Now theme that no one seems to get sick of. He wrote other numbers in case we decide to replace it. But everybody loves the theme, and I still love it today. When you hear it, it's 1 minute and 2 seconds long.
You're watching Salem Now with your host, Leo Jodoin. Since 1997, Salem Now has been working hard to inform, educate, and entertain the viewers of Salem.
Something people out there don't realize is the new Bowditch School. I was an activist in Ward 4 with an organization, the Ward 4 Association. And we petitioned not to have the school put into Gallows Hill Park. And we won that. So my audio person, Michael Kenny, he just scribbled out an idea and presented it to the building committee, the school building committee, and they accepted it. And it's exactly where he drew it today.
He suggested a new location?
Right
Yeah.
where it is today in front of the high school.
Right.
For me, the best part is when they named the school, they kind of put a contest out there. They kept the name Bowditch. That made me very happy.
So let me just give you a little overview of your life. You left school. Did your band ever go anywhere?
We cut a record in 1968, and it played on all the radio stations.
Was it rock and roll?
Oh, naturally.
Yeah.
Naturally. As a matter of fact, today, I love classical. I was a drummer. I was known as a power drummer and one of the best drummers on the North Shore. As a matter of fact, I was playing a gig in Lynn where there were 3 professors from Berklee College of Music in Boston. And after I had finished playing, they approached me and said, "How would you like to go to Berklee?"
Oh.
And I was only 16 at the time. And I said, "My father's passed away." I said, "We're poor, and I'm not a graduate of high school." They said, "That doesn't matter." They said, "We will sponsor you. You will go to Berkeley." I said, "But that's the best school in the country." And they said, "And we want you."
And so did you go?
No. A lot of people asked me that question. They said, "Did you ever pursue it?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Aren't you sorry you never pursued it? You could have been a drum teacher." And I said, "No." I said, "I was 16. I was a child. I was still having fun." They sent me all the information. When I talked to my bandmates, they said, "What was that all about?" And I said, "They want me to go to Berklee." "Yeah, right." And they took all my address and information, and a week later, I received it in the mail. So, and even the book, they sent me everything.
Yeah.
And I still have it today. And my music teacher, I have to say her name, Mrs. Jane Lundigan from Bowditch. That was the class I loved. And when our record came out, all the classes would change. So she would tell all the kids that would come into the new class, "I'm going to play Leo Jodoin's new record that just came out, but if you don't behave yourself, I'm not gonna play it."
She used it as bait to get them to behave.
Yes, and every class got to hear the record, and it was kind of cool for us.
Yeah.
As you're driving down the road and you hear it on the radio.
Okay, so now I got to ask you the important question. Were there any groupies?
Oh, we had followers like you wouldn't believe. It was amazing. We had to, all of our equipment, we were loud, and we had what you would call a wall of sound.
But were you fighting off the women? Or were you not fighting off the women?
We'll just say that it's kind of hard to answer folks at home. We had no problem with girls.
All right.
Everybody in the band always had 4, 5, and there was always a lot of fights. And we were never going home with them because we arrived in the truck. But our fans would unload the truck for us, and they would reload the truck for us. And for doing that, we would get them in to the venue.
Yeah.
We would get them in free. And there was one place that we played, Leo Buckley Stadium in Peabody, that is now, I believe, the Senior Center. and it was a football field, and we were the headline band, and there were 7 bands, and it was funny because the bleachers, there was about 3,000 people, and all the 3,000 people were all sitting in front of the other 6 bands. And there was no one sitting in front of us. And we just said, we don't care. We were true musicians. It's still in my blood. And all of a sudden, when the last band played and it was our turn, of course, they were dressed in tuxedos and their mothers probably combed their hair, and they played what we called candy music. We were playing Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Velvet Underground, a lot of these that I know that the parents probably didn't care for. So when it came our turn, it was really weird. This whole block of 3,000 people just got up and moved right in front of us because we had the long hair, the paisley
shirts,
and the vests, and we weren't like the others.
Now, I got to ask you another personal question. Were you guys using a lot of drugs?
We did drugs. We did drinking. I'm paying for it today.
Problems with your liver, right?
My liver, correct. I just successfully, folks, I encourage anybody to be tested for hepatitis C. According to a commercial I saw, the baby boomers, 1 in 30 people have hepatitis C. This drug, I call it the miracle drug, has cured not only me, has cured also my bass player of the band.
And you can have hepatitis C and not know it?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
But it's damaging your liver.
Oh.
So I've eliminated that part, and it damages it heavily. My liver is still going on, is on the bad side, but not as fast as when I had hepatitis C.
What made you decide, actually, Leo became a master craftsman? They used to
Carpenter, correct.
Carpenter. And they used to call you the fussy Frenchman?
Yes.
Because you were so exact and careful about
very,
what you did.
very meticulous.
What made you give up the band and become a carpenter?
I was a power drummer, so I had, my drum set wasn't one drum set. It was almost 3 drum sets, all connected. But I would only hit the ones necessary to...
And it would play the other 2?
No.
No.
I had to play them all.
Oh, all right. Okay.
And it, at first it was very challenging, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I today would have a hard time. The last time I played, we used to do a show live outside during Heritage Days.
Okay.
And we moved from outside Old Town Hall to the Salem Common. And the band asked me to come up, and I hadn't played in like 30 years. And I was excited about that because it's like the old saying goes, it's like seeing if you can still ride the bicycle.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of myself. But the drummer's set only had one bass drum. I used to have two. And he only had one high tom, where I used to have four. So while I was playing, I was actually playing a little bit of air drums because I was hitting drums that weren't there.
And why did you leave the band and go into carpentry?
I threw my back out.
Oh.
My mother, when I used to come home, I was, like I said, a power drummer. I hate to be repetitive, but my hands would be bloody, and I would have blood all over me. Blood would be all over the skins of the drums and my cymbals, because I worked so hard at making sure that I had to produce.
Loudest sound possible.
As loud a sound as possible, not like these sissy drums that they have today that are electric.
Sissy drums, yeah. I noticed that, a lot of sissy drums.
Yeah, they're that skinny, and they're electronic. But a true drummer, you're looking at one.
And you threw your back out playing the drums?
Yes, I used to. Sometimes I would come home and I would have lumps on my shoulders.
You must have been something to watch, though.
People used to come to see that. But they also used to come what we used to call a Who act, which is the band The Who.
Oh, I know, yeah. The Who.
And at the end of their performance, and believe it or not, folks, they performed right here in Salem at the Salem Theater. And we, all the whole band, our band, we went and see them.
Yeah.
And their last song, they would destroy all their equipment. And of course, I would destroy my drums. And we made fake amps.
Oh.
And we had different guitars, ones that we could use so that they would destroy the amps with those guitars. And I would push my drums all over the place.
And you stole that from the Who?
From the Who.
And did people like it?
They loved it. It got to the point where it got so expensive to repair everything.
Yeah.
That we stopped doing it until one day, one night, we were playing at the Upbeat in Peabody, and a friend of mine approached me and said, "You're going to be doing the Who act tonight, right?" And I looked at him and I said, "No." I said, "All that stuff is packed in the back of the truck, and that's where it's staying." I said, "We're all done. We can't afford to keep repairing all that equipment." And he says, "Oh, you have to play. You have to do the Who act." And I said, "Why?" "It's because I have people that come from New Hampshire, a lot of them that came just to see that." I said, "Well, let me ask my bandmates, and if they say okay," I said, "you and your friends are going to unload the truck."
Yes.
"And bring it in, and we will do it. And you will also reload the truck." And we did it, and they got a big thrill out of it.
They must have liked carrying it in because it made them part of the band.
Yeah, I found that they did have a lot of enjoyment.
Then you went into carpentry, you opened your own business, and you did a lot of important work around town, mostly in Salem.
Yes.
Then you became an activist for Ward 4. And tell me some of the things that your group managed to accomplish.
I have to say that the Flynn Tan Leather Factory on Boston Street was one of our biggest accomplishments of having it torn down. We lobbied Boston and, of course, the city. Anybody that we could get involved
You still have long hair and the hippie look, or had you?
No.
No, you went
No,
carpenter look.
when I was in the band, my hair was halfway down my back. And I was actually, when we played Endicott College, some of my bandmates were trying to get into the girls' rooms, and they got caught. So they said, Lee, you try. So as I was walking by, I walked by the lady that was catching everybody, and she yelled out, Miss, Miss. So I stopped. I had to stop.
Yeah.
And it was only because of the long hair. She thought I was one of the girls.
And then did she catch that you were a boy?
Yes, because I had a mustache. And it was a riot, and my bandmates were watching from around the corner, and we got a big hoot out of it. And I wasn't embarrassed, being called Miss. It was just, I was just one of the ugly girls, that's all. But it was a lot of fun. My bass player today, he's my age, and he is still out there playing just about every night. He fills in for a lot of different bands on the North Shore.
So you became an activist.
Mm-hmm.
That meant you interacted with a lot of politicians, right?
Yes, we used to invite them to our meetings.
And you got to be known around town, I'm assuming.
We were known around town so well that other groups, other organizations were coming to our meetings, and we asked them, how come you're attending our meetings? And they said, the real reason is because you seem to be getting so much done, and we're not accomplishing anything, and we wanted to see why.
This is really democracy in action. It used to be much more powerful than it is now. I think people, particularly young people, are working such long hours, and everyone is burdened down that they don't have the time to give to
Well,
this
that's
we had.
one of the reasons for Salem Now. You might as well call me a journalist. I do all the research for the people that have to work 2 jobs, and also try to find time to play with their children,
Right,
or bring the children to sports.
right.
And it's hard for them to keep up with what's going on around the city. I do the work, and as everybody knows out there, we air on SATV 4 times a week, Wednesdays at 7 and 11, Thursdays at 5, and Sundays at 7.
That would be the same show 4 times.
4 times,
Yeah.
except our first, when we go live, we also have call-in. Our audience is so huge that I can't think of every question. It's just total. I wish myself, personally, that I could do the show behind the cameras, because I've been doing it for so long. They used to say this, and I never believed it. There's no one out there like me. I am thick-skinned.
And let me just add that you interview politicians, state reps, city councilor, you've interviewed several mayors,
Yes.
and that you don't, you're a little tough on them.
I have a job to do on Salem Now. My viewing family at home depend on me to get the answers that they can't get. I have gotten phone calls from constituents of Salem across the city, not just where I live, but across the city, and say to me, I'm kind of embarrassed about this phone call, but I used your name today And I would say, in what capacity? And they would say, well, I went to City Hall, or I went to the DPW, or I went here, or I went there, because I had an issue, and I was getting nowhere. So where I saw that there was no reason to continue the argument, I just said, well, then I'm going to call Leo Jodoin, and I'm going to get on Salem Now. And I said, what happened? They said, the issue was resolved.
So people all through these past 25 years, if they had a problem, they could call you and you would either do it for them or you'd have them on the show?
Sure, absolutely.
So that's a really important function in a city, to have a citizen outlet that can call people to account.
Right. And a lot of times when they couldn't find answers, they would call me, and if I didn't have the answer, which most times I did, I would say I have on a scale of 1 to 100, about 99.5% had the answer. But if I didn't, I would get it for them.
Now, did this bring you into conflict with the people in power?
No, that's the beautiful part. The people in power, and I mean, I've had senators, state representatives, the congressman on the show. I brought both the mayor of this city and the Peabody mayor together at the same time. And we have respect for each other, because I always warned them at the door. When I would greet the guests, could be the senator, the first words out of his mouth would be, I heard you can be a stickler. And I would say, and where did you hear that? And they would say, downtown. And I'd say, I know where you're talking about. I said, it's in city government somewhere, but that's where you... I said, look, that's a bunch of crap. Be honest, be truth, don't lie to my viewing family, and you will have the most wonderful time, the most wonderful hour you've ever spent on television. But it feels like 10 minutes, so you better leave a lot of the these and ins and ands and buts out of your answers, because
Just be direct, in other words.
right, but give my viewing family the correct answer. If you don't know it, say it.
Did anybody ever walk off your show?
Never. Because I have a plan for that also, which is the camera will follow them. I will bash them. I will still take the show a little further to punish them.
Yeah.
And I've actually had a counselor that was running. He was new. He was running in Ward 1, and at the time I was working for the John Donahue campaign for mayor, and he happened to be there at the headquarters, and I looked at him and I said, "You're gonna be on Salem Now if you win." And he looked at me and he said, "Well, I don't know if I want to do that." And I said, "Excuse me, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, you are going to be on Salem Now. If you're on the show, it's going to be a great show. If you're not on the show, it's going to be a better show because I'm going to hammer you.
It's interesting that you're talking about accountability, right? These people whom we've elected have to come before a representative of the people and answer questions directly. You voted for Trump, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And I'd like to ask you a few questions because I myself do not understand why you voted for him. So let me ask you to give, so people will know in the future when this is played over in 2085, if we're still here. Climate change. The president doesn't believe in it.
And neither do I.
Because?
Because I believe it's Mother Nature. Mother Nature doing her thing. As I believe rain cleans the air. I believe that 100%. As you've known, continents...
Even acid rain, right? Cleans it?
It helps.
Uh-huh.
I believe it helps. I mean, it brings it down to the ground where it's still nasty, but continents have separated and we've become different countries and different...
Yep.
And just on the comical side, that's how Bigfoot came across.
So you do know that there is change in the climate, but you just think that it's Mother Nature and natural
doing her
change.
thing, exactly.
Okay, how about the Russian connection? For those of you who are watching this who are not paying attention to politics, there has been evidence that several of the Trump associates talked to various Russian ambassadors and things during the transition and while they were on his team. So go ahead.
I truly do not believe there was any collusion between Trump and Putin. As a matter of fact, and I follow this, I have to be careful.
What stations do you watch?
Fox. I have never in my life ever had any respect for Putin. Never. Until lately with Trump. Because this, from what I see and what I can read, may be a handshake that we've been needing for a very
To heal
long,
the relationship.
Exactly. It's a shame that all the countries aren't one. That's what I like about for Salem, is I try to keep them informed so that it can become one.
Okay, so now saying that there isn't collusion, do you believe the findings that they did interfere to try to help Trump win?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
How about health care? Were you against Obamacare?
Yes. Because they're, no, this isn't a stupid answer, because they never read it. It's like in Salem, I have the respect of Counselor at Large Arthur Sargent. Before he votes, he reads what he's voting for.
So you think the Congress that passed it had not read what was in the bill?
Well, there was, what,
1,000 pages.
Yeah.
Yes. So did you like Trump's new bill, the American Care Act?
Yes, but I still think it still needs a lot of cleaning up.
So you would like less government assistance for health care?
If it's possible, I mean, we do have to realize it's like welfare. When welfare was created, it was a great thing. It was there for the right reasons, for the people that couldn't. When I was a baby, I was sick, very sick, And my mother, she had no money.
Right,
My father was dying,
right.
and she went to welfare just to try to get help
And did they give it to her?
for the medicine
Right,
for her baby, which was me. And they denied her. So she went. My mother was a very, very proud, she was a very proud woman. And it broke her heart to have to go to our oil man who delivered our oil to heat the home to borrow the money for the medicine for me. And he said, Yvonne, you sure it's enough? And she said, I'll pay you back. He said, don't worry.
but you know, Obamacare was designed to help people who didn't have insurance.
I understand that. But why aren't people paying more attention to Obamacare is just about on its way out, even if Trump
But if it
didn't-
goes out, all these people will be in the position your mother was, unable to pay for medicine.
Exactly.
And that's okay with you?
No.
What do you think should be
It seems-
done?
I think we need health care. I know it stinks that it has to come from the government, because who is the government?
Us.
It's us, you and I. It's the taxpayers.
So you don't want it to come from the government?
Where else are we going to get it
That's
from?
what I don't know.
I know there's a lot of cuts that he is proposing that a lot of people don't care for. My friends at home, I don't care about studying the fruit fly.
You think the money that is designed for healthcare will go to research on stupid projects?
Well, yes. I mean, the fruit fly may have something that they've discovered things in jellyfish, and
I didn't think that any of Obamacare was going to research. Is that what Fox News says, that they're spending it on other things?
it's where they were getting the money from.
Are you for the Muslim ban?
Oh, absolutely.
And how about Steve Bannon and his white supremacist supporters?
That one, I really don't have an answer towards that, because I'm still absorbing Banner of what's up with this man. But I do support the Supreme Court justice that Trump has brought in. I think he's a fabulous choice.
And do you think it was right of them not to let Obama's judge be appointed?
I do. I really do. Because I believe this is we're starting a new, what I hope, I would love to go back in a time machine, back to the late 50s.
Which is just when your mother couldn't afford to give you medicine.
Right. But times were better. People were more friendlier. People helped people.
Yes, they did. That's very, very lovely to hear that your oil man came to your rescue. Or you wouldn't be here.
Probably not.
Thank you very much. I hope you've caught a glimpse of the inside of this silver mind, that you appreciate a little bit more the people who have helped make Salem the city that it is today, and that we'll see you again next time.
And I want to thank you, Linda.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Didn't you think that went well?
I thought it went very well.
Yeah.
I really did.
As we grow a little older and each year passes by, days are filled with laughter and we're not afraid to cry. But love is all around us, its power is so strong. For you, my very special friend, I sing for you this song. And I'm happy you are you, my friend, and I'm glad that I'm me.